Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our distinguished guests, esteemed members of the press. I'll be your moderator today for the press conference. My name is Katie Haig. And before we begin, I really want to take a moment to express our thanks to the International Astronautical Federation and the Italian Association of Aeronautics and Astronautics for their hard work and dedication in making this year's Congress and our event today possible. Now, let me introduce you to our participants on the stage with me this morning. Matt Onler, President of Axiom Space. Lorenzo Bertelli, Prada Group, Chief Marketing Officer and Head of Corporate Social Responsibility. And Russell Ralston, Axiom Space's Spacesuit Program Manager. As we move forward, I'd like to outline a few ground rules to ensure a smooth and productive session this morning. We'll have a designated time for opening statements, followed by a Q&A segment. Please raise your hand to indicate that you would like to ask a question, and when called upon, state your name and the outlet you represent. And then please, we kindly ask to keep your questions concise, just one question each, to allow as many reporters as possible to participate. Thank you once again for being here. Let's get started. Matt, over to you.
Thank you, Katie. Buongiorno, good morning. This is an historic day. The unveiling of this spacesuit is an historic moment. And most of the time, you don't realize you're part of history when you're in it. But I'm telling you, you're part of history. When you see an astronaut walk on the moon in this suit, you'll remember seeing it for the first time on this day. And what an amazing city to unveil a very human-centered design. At the opening ceremony of this Congress, the speakers referenced Leonardo da Vinci and the 20 years he spent in this city inventing, designing, innovating things. And so it's a perfect place to unveil a very innovative design. So 2 years from now, when NASA flies the X-3 mission, the astronaut will be wearing this suit design. More profoundly for us, the first woman to walk on the moon will wear this suit. The first person of color will wear this suit. The first non-American will wear this suit. And they will go in places that are incredibly hazardous, extreme environments. One of the missions that NASA wants to do is to try to find water in craters at the South Pole. These are some of the coldest places in the universe. And so this suit has to be designed very cleverly. We have to find innovative solutions to protect a very fragile emissary of exploration, this very fragile human in these very, very extreme environments. So it really requires extreme engineering, fantastic manufacturing capability, and innovation. And that's why I'm so proud to be associated with Prada. You know, innovation doesn't come when you have a team where everyone is the same. If everyone has the same education, the same background, the same experience, it's hard to be innovative. Innovation really comes when you put diverse teams together with diverse backgrounds and different educations and different skills. And that's what I think the Prada team has brought to us. And together we built something extraordinary that we couldn't have otherwise built individually. So very proud of our association with Prada and the machine that we've designed. And I really look forward to your questions and look forward to my other gentlemen speaking. And so for now, we'll turn it over to Russell to talk more details about the spacesuit.
Thanks, Matt. Well, good morning. Thanks for joining us as we unveil the result of this groundbreaking partnership. For the first time, Axiom Space and Prada share our Axiom EMU's flight cover layer design, crafted from a year's worth of collaborative and innovative production and materials work. As many of you know, the mostly white external layer is required to reflect heat and protect astronauts in the extreme high temperatures that they'll encounter on the lunar surface. In contrast, the dark cover layer that many of you have seen in the past is purely for display purposes only, to conceal some of the proprietary technology and innovations that we have underneath the outer layer. The partnership between Axiom Space and Prada in creating this flight design has truly revolutionized space suit development. Two very different leaders in their industry have come together to deliver the next generation spacesuit for the return to the moon, and for the first time ever to the South Pole. This collaboration exemplifies the power to create better technological solutions together by merging Axiom Space's elite engineering experience with Prada's renowned craftsmanship. We've blended engineering, science, and art to produce the ultimate garment for future moonwalkers, ensuring that astronauts can perform their tasks and missions in safety and comfort. And we are leveraging our unique strengths to inspire and engage a broader audience. Additionally, this partnership is helping refine production strategies and stabilizing supply chain challenges that historically have been problematic in the spacesuit world. By working together, we've been able to streamline processes and ensure that the resources are there to support future missions. Today marks a significant step on the path towards returning humans to the surface of the moon and going even further. We look forward to sharing the details of the spacesuit design here with you today, and thank you for being here. Over to you, Randy.
Thank you, Russell. So no, I'm really honored, first of all, to be here. This is, I think, is an historic moment for not the space sector, but also for the space sector, because everybody talks about space economy in this day, and I think today we are here to prove that this is just the beginning. I think we have huge opportunity in this sector. I think we're super honored that Axiom chose us to partner with. It's a partnership that for our group roots really back in the days, I would say at the end of the 90s, when I think my father decided to start an adventure that was called America's Cup. And since then, the 90s and today, we invested more than $1 billion in know-how, in engineering. We had engineers that were working for Lockheed, for Boeing, and we have engineers that worked for us that today are working for SpaceX. So Prada is known around the world mainly for fashion and design, but I think it's something that not everybody realized the investment we've done in engineering in general, and I think Axiom discovered with us in this journey. And also, as Russell mentioned, I would say that our luxury supply chain is meant to be at prototypization scale, because let's say almost all our sales are not done on huge scale if you compare it to other sectors, and this everyday work is based on single SKU, single prototype, and this is happen every day when we work with our VSC. So really, for us to adapt to the challenge of Axiom and to their need was quite easy, and I think we were super satisfied in feeling ourselves so ready to take this challenge. And I think this is just the beginning, and sometimes things start as an adventure, and I think everybody should start their life adventure first because they enjoy it. And as we enjoyed to start the adventure in the 90s with America's Cup, with a boat that was called Luna Rossa, that in English means Red Moon, was maybe just a coincidence, but maybe it's not going to be a coincidence when we're going to be there. And so I think this is another exciting adventure that is starting today, that we do it because we like to do nice things and because we enjoy it, and then maybe when in 20 or 30 years we will look backwards, we will find out that it's going to be something much more than that. So I really want to thank Axiom for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, and we're going to move on to our Q&A. Okay, please, again, raise your hand, state your name and the outlet that you are with. Thank you. Marta. Ooh. We got a microphone coming your way.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Marta Meli from SkyTG24, and I've got a question for Matt Ondler. President Ondler, what do you think about the role of Italy in the commercial space flight, considering the memorandum of understanding that you signed with our country, and considering that we have an Italian astronaut like Walter Villadei that took part to the Axiom 3 mission? And what are your plans for the future with our country? Thanks.
Well, it's a great question. And Italy, as you mentioned, has been a very important partner for us. At Talasalenia in Torino, not far from here, they're building the first pressure vessel that will be part of our space station, so a very, very important partnership. We were honored to fly Walter on our last mission and do all the experiments that Italy had flown. I think for me, Italy is very progressive in the commercial space because they've involved every industry, or tried to involve industries outside of aerospace. So Barilla flew an experiment, and Dallara, the race car company, is involved. So I think Italy is very much leaning forward and trying to be part of the space economy to figure out how to make things in space that you can't otherwise make on the Earth. And so very important partner, and we see a long future in working together with Italy.
Jeff? Third row back, right there. Yep, you got it.
Hi, Jeff Faust of Space News. Question for Russell. When you compare this spacesuit to the Apollo-era lunar spacesuits, what stands out in terms of differences in mobility, functionality, and so on that this is better than the Apollo suits in some way?
A few things come to mind in comparing to the Apollo suits. You mentioned mobility, maybe we start there. Certainly there's a lot more mobility in this suit design, and that's one of the things that we've really worked to refine over the past couple of years. And we've done a lot of work with Prada actually on this. There's many layers to a spacesuit, and every single layer of the fabric that's in that actually affects your mobility in one way or another, and the combination of them together. So we've been paying attention to that. So mobility will be greatly improved. Overall capability of EVA will be improved. Safety is something that will be, I think, taking a very, very large step forward. We have a lot more redundancy in this design in terms of components and hardware. We have what we call an onboard diagnostic system that is monitoring all the systems inside the spacesuit real time and calculating how their performance is doing, and even looking at trends to see if, okay, maybe this thing's not working as well as it should. So the safety is really taking a step forward. And then the other thing that I think is key is the range of people that will be able to fit in this suit is quite different. The Apollo suits were really tailor-made to each astronaut. Our suit certainly has some customized elements to it, but we've come up with a sizing scheme that really will allow us to capture a much wider portion of the population than Apollo. So I think those are probably the key things that come to mind.
Front row.
Tommaso Palazzi, Milano Finanza Fashion. For Lorenzo, I wanted to ask how this project came into being. What was your first contact, like in the Moon projects, and what was your design contribution from a style point of view?
So I think like the first idea, let's say, came just before COVID, and then during COVID, when a lot of us had a lot of free time to think about work and talk with people. I think that is where really started to get more concrete. And after COVID, when talking with people, I met Mike Suffredini, and we started to have this discussion. And so I would say, again, this is more or less where it started. And I think, like in terms of design, I think first of all, like this kind of project, functional design is always the rule number one. So whatever was a design choices was not just stylistic choices, were just first, is it functional, is the best functional solution, and then if you have on the same table two both same valid option, I think then we did just maybe a stylistic decision. And I think it roots back a bit also in the origin of design and fashion in general, where if you look back in the history of design, like all the choices were mainly driven by functional reason, not just aesthetical reason. So I think somehow was also a nice exercise for our design team to really start from the functional point of view and then really understanding how to make it also looking good. And I think we had example like the stitches where the best looking stitches were also the most functional, or like the need of the red stripe, like for sure is gonna recall to all of you to Linea Rossa red stripe, but you know that the red stripe is already there since the lunar mission because it's used to recognize the role of the astronaut. So it was also this a kind of coincidence where design, aesthetic design, and functionality merged together. So those are just few of the examples.
So right here in the middle.
Jordan Wright, the angry astronaut. In spite of the impressive progress that we saw from SpaceX a few days ago, still a lot of question as to whether or not they're going to be able to get 22 launches done to accomplish Artemis in 2 years. How do you folks feel? Because those are the two missing elements, is HLS and spacesuits. Do you feel that you can deliver a functional EVA suit by the deadline, the end of 2026?
Yeah, absolutely. We're making a ton of progress. Earlier this year, you may have seen, we released some imagery of a test we did jointly with SpaceX out in Hawthorne, California, to refine some of the airlock design because there's many details that have to be solved, right? We're basically taking our spacecraft, right? A spacesuit is a spacecraft, it's just human shaped, and we're having to combine it with the Starship vehicle, and so there's many things to sort out. So we did a great test campaign with their team. It was a really awesome experience working with them and going through that test series. We've also been to the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory for some unmanned testing in NASA's facility, and then we've done quite a bit of testing as well in some reduced gravity like offload systems, and then at Axiom as well. So certainly some work to go. I mean, we certainly have a hill to climb, but we're certainly on our way, I think.
Thank you.
And I would add too that delivering the spacesuit is an enormous responsibility, and we are very committed to making that happen and on schedule. So we will deliver the suit on time and be ready for Artemis 3.
Next question, also in the middle.
Rob Coppinger with Spaceflight Magazine. Dust mitigation, are there any elements of your exterior outer layer design that is to mitigate against dust accumulation on the suit? And also, in terms of egress and ingress from the future lunar habitats and pressurized rover, are they going to have technologies that will help in the removal of dust from the exterior of the suit that may have influenced your suit design?
Absolutely. So we've taken I would call it this way, like a multi-pronged approach to how we deal with lunar dust, and I think we've got quite a few innovative solutions, and that absolutely was a major design factor in designing the outer layer of the garment, right? Because that's where you want to keep the dust out from the internals of the suit, and so that layer plays a big role in that. We do have a dust lab at Axiom where we've been doing some testing to refine some of the techniques that we have for protecting against dust, using some proprietary coatings and some other things that we think will keep the dust out and off. We also have tools. So in addition to the spacesuit, we don't often talk about this, but we're building, I think it's over 40 different tools for the lunar surface, and some of those are specifically used for, say, cleaning the suits or capturing and managing the dust problem, because the real thing you're trying to do is not bring the dust back into the vehicle, right? So you're trying to keep it out. So we have tools for cleaning. We have some methods we're using to keep dust off the suit in the first place. And then fundamentally, some of the work that we've done with Prada is to look at what are the right materials to use so that we can basically tolerate the dust, if you will, and make it not a problem by just being able to handle it, if that makes sense.
We have one up front here. Up front. Up front. Thank you.
Chris Cubbage from Australia in Space. Male, female sizes at all in terms of how adaptable that is? And maybe if you could just dive into a little bit deeper into the critical system redundancy, what systems and just dual systems in separate?
Yeah, so on the sizing part, we have what we like to call like a two, what's the word? Basically a dual sizing scheme where we have what we call micro sizing and macro sizing. So it really, like, gender doesn't play a role here. Like any individual we can fit inside the suit and then tailor the suit to them. we can swap out different sizes of certain components, and then certain components themselves can be adjusted and really tailored to the astronaut. And in some cases, we customize certain things, maybe gloves or things like that, we can customize to an individual who's in the suit. As to the safety or the redundancy question, I'll give you a more high-level answer, but all of the critical systems, the ones that would cause, like, say, risk of health to the crew member, all of those have redundancy in them so that a failure could be tolerated, and you can actually continue going at the same capability that you have. And then in some cases, you may drop down in capability, but you still have made a safe environment within the spacesuit.
Joey, over there. And on the side. Yep.
Thanks, Joey Roulette with Reuters. The Artemis 3 missions a few years from now and SpaceX's Starship keeps evolving. How much do you think this suit will change, the suit design will change before it actually gets on the moon? And also, how long will it take to custom fit the suit for specific astronauts? Thanks.
Yeah, so we do expect, so we're not through the qualification process yet. We do expect some minor tweaks, but I'll tell you, over the past 2 years, we have really iterated the design quite quickly. What's underneath this layer is not the same as what was there a couple of years ago. We have changed many things and have really improved and optimized certain things. So certainly, we have kind of this iterative process that we go through and with a lot of testing in-house to refine the design. But absolutely, I mean, we'll find something, small things here or there that we have to go fix, and that's a very normal part of any complicated system development. Sorry, remind me of the second question. I didn't hear the. Oh. So tailoring fit really doesn't take too long. Typically, we'll take an individual's measurements and then we pick the right sizing. And once we have the right sizing, you can be inside the suit and we can adjust it. We don't have to. It doesn't take long. A couple minutes. I mean, it's not. Now, if we're going to do a full customization, it might take a little bit longer than that because we may have to go produce things. But yeah, it's not a long process.
Gentleman here in the middle.
Yeah, hi. Robert Wall with Aviation Week. Question on the path forward to launch to Artemis 3. What would you say are some of the key test milestones you still need to accomplish in the next 2 years? And can I also just check with the Collins decision, has that at all affected your either the value of the contract or the scope of work that you're being asked to do?
Sure. So key test milestones, typically the way this works is there's kind of an increasing progression in the criticality of the tests. So tests will, just generally speaking, will start internal to Axiom in our labs and some of the what we call test rigs that we have to test the suit and ensure that it's safe. And generally speaking, you'll progress up. The culminating event is typically like a thermal vacuum chamber run because it's the one place where you can simulate the space environment the closest, where you can fluctuate the temperatures and remove all the air and get the metabolic rate of the person higher, so we can really test the suit in that environment. So those tests are still yet to come, and we're kind of beginning that incremental progression up to that culminating event. As far as the Collins question, it really hasn't affected us too much at all. When we began this effort, we were extremely focused on, and we remain very focused on the work that we have to do. The tests that I was just speaking about require an enormous amount of planning and attention to detail, and there's many things to sort out, because when you make a spacesuit, you don't just make the spacesuit, you have to make all of the supporting equipment and everything around it, and that takes a tremendous amount of effort and focus. So we've really been focused on the work that we have to do and just kind of being aggressive with the schedule to really push as fast as we can, and we just focus on that.
Great, and we have 3 questions on this side, so we'll start here in the front and then work our way back. Thank you.
Thank you. Stefan Baranski from Aerospatiale magazine in France. We're talking about longer stays on the moon, so I'd like to know what is the life expectancy of your suit before it has to be maintained, repaired, or replaced, please?
So the answer to that question depends on which piece of the suit. Not everything is equal typically in systems like this. There's some components that are, say, intentionally sacrificial. You might replace every single every single spacewalk, but the majority of the system can last for multiple, like I would say multiple mission campaigns. It's been a driving factor for our engineering team, and then also with Prada here to select, like just as an example, to select materials that are robust to the environment that we're putting the suit in, because we want it to last as long as possible. So certainly the early Artemis missions are not something we're worried about, but we have kept our eye on the vision for a long-term sustained presence and maximizing the overall life of the suit.
And I would add, if I could, I think Russell's team very cleverly looked at and addressed design for maintenance. So every single component can be removed individually. So designed very specifically for the ease of removing individual components to be replaced. Very, very different than the current suit.
Good morning. Gurubir Singh, AstroTalk UK. Wondering if you can say a bit more about the specification, specifically 3 aspects. This will be the first time going to the south pole of the moon. And I'm wondering what attributes you had to cater for in the design, maybe to deal with the lower temperature, different terrain, lighting conditions. Secondly, in an emergency, if it was necessary on the surface of the moon, could a male suit be converted for female use? And then thirdly, sustainability is a theme here. We've seen recently the problems with compatibility between space suits and spacecraft, but there will be more companies making space suits. Are you working to any international standards in developing the spacesuit design?
Okay, I'll try to remember those. The first, I think, was about the environments and what drove from the South Pole. Certainly the lower temperatures. So we see much colder temperatures there than say, historical missions. Certainly colder than, say, low Earth orbit, where the International Space Station is. And Apollo, all the Apollo missions were equatorial on the moon, and so they were typically on the higher temperature side. So the cold temperatures certainly drive a variety of aspects of design, material choices, but other things. You also pointed out the lighting environment. That's very unique to the poles of the moons, especially the South Pole, where the sun doesn't get very far above the horizon. So when you're walking around, you're constantly either looking at a very long shadow or you're looking straight into the sun. And so we've partnered with others like Oakley for some optical system design to enhance the astronauts' visibility and things like that. And those things have driven a lot of say some of the more detailed decisions we made in the engineering world. So I think we could talk for a long time about that, but those are probably 2 good examples. As far as your question with the male and female suit, there is no male and female. It's just one suit design, and it accommodates any individual, and we can just tailor the suit straight to them. So it's very flexible from a logistics perspective. As Matt said, we've designed the entire suit to be kind of compartmentalized, so we can break it up and rearrange it very, very quickly. But also from a logistics perspective, many of the sizes cover. The way we can adjust them, they cover multiple other sizes. So like an analogy would be if you're wearing, say, a medium-sized t-shirt, we could make that medium into a small and into a large, so that we can adapt certain things. That's one way to think about it.
But that would be able to be done in an emergency on the lunar surface?
You would need to go back into the vehicle, but yes. I apologize, I don't remember the third.
And the third, I think, was on the sustainability piece, and interoperability. So
designing for sustainability.
Yeah. International standards.
And I might take that one because it applies to our space station as well. Because we would like to, for our space station, for example, to accommodate SpaceX Dragon, ESA vehicles, Japanese vehicles, future Indian vehicles. So the development of standards is going to be very important on how do you attach to space stations. Similarly, interfaces to the spacesuit. I would say that we think we will be the spacesuit provider for everyone in the solar system.
I'm sure every company says that, and we might be, of course. But are there any standards that are being worked on internationally now?
It's certainly an ongoing activity. I think the difficulty at this stage of standards is it almost is who's first sets the standard. But there is a lot of discussion. And in some cases, for space station, for example, most of us are using the common NASA standard docking system, a common berthing mechanism for the attaching of modules. But we definitely need to work out things on how do you communicate when you're approaching a space station, what radio frequencies. Essentially the things that, if you go to any airport in the world, there are certain standards, there are certain markings that are the same no matter what airport you're at. We need those same sort of things for future space stations and spacesuits as well.
Thank you.
I think there was a third question back there. Yep, there you go.
Good morning, Silvia Sciorelli Borrelli, Financial Times. I have a question for Lorenzo. So Russell mentioned the importance of materials several times. You were mentioning a large investment in engineering. So I was wondering if you could talk a bit more about the materials and how much Prada has drawn from its Luna Rossa experience when working on these spacesuits. Thank you.
So I think on the material, I can say until a certain point, because I think there are confidentialities topic, but what I can say that most of the research we've done with them is how to blend also together fabrics, you know. Because, you know, one part is to have the right fabric, so the right fiber, but the other big part is how to blend them together. And I think this is where we worked very closely with them and making them understand which are the opportunity of blending different fiber for different scope. And there is like also big investment on researching on all the cooling part that is within the suit. And so I think that is where has been the research, and yeah, and that's it, because it's not just about the know-how and the research on the fiber, it's also how you blend them together with the other fiber, how you mix it, how you design and shape it, and that's it.
Back in the middle.
Hi, my name is Luisa Conga from Polaris, and my question is in which way the suit is protecting the astronauts from the radiation on the lunar surface?
So a couple things on the radiation topic. So one of the, there's a lot of effort, maybe just start at a high level. There's a lot of effort that goes into mission planning that looks at what a predicted radiation environment might be. And so a lot of it is actually planned on the front end. If you're going for a hike, so to speak, you're going to check the weather before you go for the hike so that you don't walk into a rainstorm, right? The suit itself, though, we do take a lot of the components through radiation testing to ensure that the suit itself can withstand that environment and that the electronics are unaffected. So we do a lot of testing here on the ground, and we have done that testing to make sure that all of the avionics and computers on board are good to go. And that's really the primary thing we do, is make sure that, hey, the suit itself will still function in that environment. And then you do get some help from some of the materials we use, but most of it is on the pre-planning side, and then just ensuring the suit will function.
Right there on the right-hand side.
Thank you. My name is Wojciech Kaczanowski. I'm from Space24 from Poland. I have a question for Axiom Space, because this spacesuit is specifically for Artemis 3 mission, but there will be next. So does Axiom Space have a talk with NASA about your participation in next missions?
Sure. Yes. Yeah. I'll start and let Russell finish. Because it's not only for the Artemis missions, but we will use this spacesuit for our own space station as well. We also hope that we will be able to put the suit on the International Space Station. Russell hasn't mentioned this, but the suit's generally designed the same, whether it's on the moon or in low Earth orbit. So we really need a spacesuit for our space station as well. So we think that's a use case. We also think that there are commercial opportunities to put commercial astronauts or private astronauts in the spacesuit. But we're certainly committed to supporting NASA's missions through, I'm not sure how many, but yes, it's more than just Artemis 3.
Yeah, I agree with Matt. It's the design process we go through is comprehensive to ensure the suit is ready to go for all the missions. So, yeah, I don't have much more to add.
Over here on the left-hand side.
Thank you. Claudia Kessler from Astronaut in GmbH. My first question has already been answered because I've been working with female astronauts for a lot, trying to first female German astronaut to fly into space with Axiom. And we always had the experience that the spacesuits were designed for men. But I think you answered that already. So my next question is to Lorenzo. I'm working a lot in outreach and communication of space. So will you use this cooperation also for the communication of Prada, for a commercial products, for a space line, for a space fashion line? I've just been talking about that this morning with other people here. Will Prada also use the cooperation of space for its own fashion?
I think like everybody does things for not just for let's say an opportunity reason, but I think like the real reason, I put it another way, the real reason why we started back in the day the America's Cup was to figure out, I mean, to really take the challenge and to really try to win the cup and in the 90s and to do something that was nice and not because there was like a commercial scope of need. And then we figured out we would need to create like a sport line for the sailor that were going on the boat. So we decided to design the Linea Rossa line of Prada, you know. So I think is the wrong perspective of looking at things. So first of all, we have ideas and visions, and then we figure out how those can work also commercially and so on. So of course, I mean, this is a tremendous opportunity, but the real nature of our group thinking is not like I do that for marketing reasons. It's really because we believe in that kind of way of thinking, and we always say that if we could do things like America's Cup, Fondazione Prada, and working hard without selling bags, we will do it, but we need to sell bags to do so. So I think I will look in the opposite way. This is at least is the DNA of our company.
Right here in the front. I'll come to you.
Thank you. Just on the heads-up display, is there any heads-up display, or how does it communicate to the astronaut? And if there is no heads-up display, is that an option into the future, like the F-35 and that kind of thing?
Yes, so certainly an option for the future. Currently, we're not using that. Currently, we have an off-board, like handheld device, let's just call it that, that we'll be using for kind of enhanced information display, imagery, maps, navigation data, those kinds of things. It's off the suit, yeah, correct.
And I think right here in the middle.
Hello, Elisa Anzolin from Reuters. I have a question for Lorenzo Bertelli. You said that you see more opportunities in the sector. Can you tell us which opportunities you are referring to?
I think like we are just the beginning of an era that is like comparing the 80s where internet was in the 80s, you know, so we are really at the beginning of the beginning. You have to think about that already whoever has a deep pocket, enough deep pocket, whoever wants to go in the space could go in the space already today, if not for any health issue or other problem. But so let's say that today already anybody can go in space, at least on the ISS or in orbit. And this is going to be the same for the moon. So we're really just at the beginning. Today the problem is that the price ticket is too high, but as this sector will scale up, price will go down like we've seen in our history, and so it's going to be accessible. So it's just, you know, the beginning where we will take all the risk, but we will get a lot of know-how, and I think like we will have opportunity, of course, because people, I'm sure there are people that wants to have the opportunity to go on the moon, to go in the space in a safe manner, in a safe way, and also like in a not too expensive way, and this will come, it's just a matter of time. And then for us, you know, this is, I think, is already a lot, it's just the beginning. There is something of the collaboration we're doing Axiom that you don't see here that I cannot anticipate, so it's not just about the spacesuit, but there is more to come. And then, you know, I give you also this example, like, just 4 years ago, no, 5 years ago, we decided to acquire the America's Cup team with the SPA of the group and to make it strategic. So after more than 15 years, we started the America's Cup. So it's not that something that we do, we decide, this is strategic, and so we need to invest. We start a journey in a affordable way, in a sustainable way, also economically wise. And then if it's going to be strategic for the group, I don't have the answer right now, but we will see maybe in 10 or 15 years. So this is a bit the way we work.
And we have time for 2 more questions. Back there on the left-hand side.
Thank you. Good morning. Elisabetta Rosso from Page. My question is, what was the hardest things to make about the suite space? And is there something that you want to achieve but wasn't impossible at the moment? Thank you.
This is a good one. There's a lot of hard things on a spacesuit, and I think maybe one I could point to is, say, the boots. When you walk on the surface of the moon, especially at the South Pole, you could be walking on a surface that's many hundreds of degrees above zero and hundreds of degrees below zero. So the insulation of the boot how you insulate the foot from the surface is a particularly tough challenge. We believe at this point we've solved that challenge, but that one was a tough one in terms of just ensuring comfort, of course, but making sure that it's from a safety perspective and then also just a functional perspective that we provide the right amount of insulation for that. I didn't hear the second part of the question if there was one, but.
Okay, last question. Right here, second row.
Antoine Meunier, French website lachroniquespatiale.com. You mentioned previously that the Apollo suits were tailor-made, and you also mentioned that you will use this suit for the Axiom station. As for the Artemis 3 mission, so it's a clarification. How many units do you plan to produce?
Yeah, so when you make a spacesuit, we don't typically often talk in the measure of like numbers of spacesuits or units, and the reason why is because you need kind of a pantry of items to size different people. So the exact number I really can't say. It depends on a number of factors. It depends on who is flying, how many people are flying, how frequently they're flying, and things like that. But what we do is we look at those mission parameters, and then we can calculate out of that what we need to provide to support. And we are working on many ways to open the aperture in terms of how many people we can fit, while minimizing how many sizes we need to cover that range, so that we can minimize how much hardware we have to fly, essentially. Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to offer it up to Russell and Lorenzo for any closing remarks. Russell, over to you.
Well, one, just thank you for everybody for being here. This is a pretty exciting moment for us. Really, really happy and proud to share it with all of you. I'd like to thank the teams, both the Prada and Axiom teams, that have worked so hard to reach this accomplishment. I know that at the beginning, I think this partnership was very unintuitive, maybe, or unexpected to people. But it's been amazing. As Lorenzo mentioned, Prada is really much more than fashion, and we've seen all the might of engineering that they have. And I think when we look back in the future on this partnership, we'll see that we're really pioneering something new here that is joining the space sector with other sectors and kind of together going into space. So thank you.
Thank you, Raz. So no, I'm going to take it maybe in a more romantic way, in the sense that since I work with the space community and most of you are from the space environment, space community, I would say for you there is an obvious choice, to go and explore the space, and maybe it's not always obvious in our world, but what I find out talking with a lot of people that have been on the ISS or been in space is that all of them really appreciate Earth and home much more. Like when we travel abroad, we always appreciate home much more than usually we do when we are at home. And so I think that understanding space is necessary to understand also how much we are lucky at home on planet Earth and how fragile is it and how beautiful it is. And so I think like also the mission that we have as a space community, and even maybe we're not like still part of the space community, but after maybe the Artemis mission will be, I think is really to explain people how lucky we are on this planet. And I think we have also this mission, and I think, and so we're super honored to make like space and the challenge of adventure more known with people like that lives every day here. So I think this is a big challenge that all of us we have.